only relying on outcome goals to map out achieving goals. Second one is performance goals. Performance goals are helpful because they focus on you, on what you need to accomplish to compete at your peak and reach the outcome goals that are set and most important to you. An example, I'm also a goalkeeper coach, so some of my examples are going to be geared towards goalkeepers. A goalkeeper sets a goal for 80% save percentage, or a midfielder sets a goal to complete 25 out of 30 passes in a game. Those are measurable, specific to you, and they can give you an idea of what your performance is like. The third one is process. Process goals are specific things that you need to do to reach performance and outcome goals. They're the means to the ends of what you want to achieve. These are the highly controllable goals to help you reach performance and your outcome goals. These are the goals that are very important when it comes to goal mapping. One example of this, increase your bench press weight by 5%. How do you do that? Are you going to increase your bench press weight 5% by only working out your chest once a week? Probably not. So you might want to set those specific goals in order to reach that 5% increase in your weight. So it may be, well, let's work our chest 2 or 3 times a week, or let's do a specific day of chest and then make sure we get our total body in, which can also work out the chest. But these are very specific goals to help you reach those process goals or those performance and outcome goals. Mindfulness. This is my favorite. So mindfulness is derived from a word in the early Buddhist scriptures reflecting awareness and a presence of mind. Elite athletes strive to be fully present in the moment of performance, and they strive to aim and maintain their attention on the task at hand. But yet, like the rest, they've inherited a mind that's prone to wandering. There's 71 participants. Raise your hand if you've been performing and you have not been able to maintain any type of focus. You can click the little raise your hand at the bottom. And Bree, feel free to pop on and tell me how many you think there are.
Can you not see it? Everyone's raising their hand.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. But with the training or that mindfulness training, it can help you maintain that awareness or maintain that attention and sustain that awareness or broaden that awareness so you can stay focused on that task at hand. In the game of soccer, depending on your position, there is so much going on around you, especially for midfielders. Central midfielders, to be exact, 6'8", 10. You probably have the most going on around you. You're in the middle of the field. Some of you, like the 8, if you want to call box to box, you're going down and up the field, and then you got to go back down the field. So your awareness has to be broad, but then at the same time, it's got to shrink down to that narrow when that ball gets close to you. So that mindfulness training can actually help you with maintaining that awareness that's going on around you and sustaining that attention on the specific task at hand. Today, mindfulness is intentionally paying attention to the present moment in a non-judgmental way. Non-judgmental. Something bad could happen. Don't stay stuck on it. It happens. Mistakes happen. How many of you've made a mistake and it's ruined your performance? You couldn't let it go to a point that it's just you don't want to be on the field. Go ahead and click raise your hand.
Yeah, we have a bunch of hands being raised right now.
It happens. It happens. Mistakes happen. There's time in the game to where you can quickly reflect on that mistake and then go right back into it. Mindfulness is about awareness, curiosity, and openness. Those are the two important things about awareness, is ensuring that you're aware to the curiosity and staying open to everything, no matter how difficult the challenge is. And then you're wanting to aim, sustain, and regain attention. Distractions happen, mistakes happen, but regaining that attention to the task at hand is what's important. There's two types of mindfulness practices. There's formal mindfulness and there's informal mindfulness. Formal mindfulness, you've probably are more familiar with, and that's the deliberate practice of the foundation skills of awareness and attention. Those are the skills, or the formal mindfulness practice is when you take the time out of your day to mindfully breathe. By doing that, you're allowing your thoughts to come and go as they please. We can go through an exercise and I can hit a stopwatch and then you can raise your hand the first time a thought comes into your mind. The fastest time, from my experience working with athletes, someone raised their hand in 2 seconds. Some have a little more control, and one athlete lasted a minute and a half. But what's important about mindfulness is, rather than aiming to control your thoughts and feelings, or what I might call private experiences, the goal is to control the attention and the awareness by aiming the attention on a specific anchor, and that's usually the breath. And by being aware of when your attention wanders. Those that are new to mindfulness practice, there's 6 things that you should really take into consideration when you start formally practicing your mindfulness. And the first is finding a quiet place. I wouldn't suggest starting a formal mindfulness practice or formal mindful practice in a car on the way to a soccer game, unless it's quiet. And in my experience, driving my daughter or riding to a soccer game as a coach, I need that noise. I need the noise. You may have a sibling that's riding in the car and they want to listen to music. But if you're new to mindfulness practice, those distractions are going to drive you nuts. So it's important to start in a quiet place. And once you get more and more and more comfortable, then those situations like on a car ride to a soccer game, it could be easier to maintain that attention on that breath without the mind wandering to your favorite song that pops up on the radio. Next is find a moment to check in. See where you're at. Are you anxious? Are you stressed? Are you tense? Are you relaxed? Take the time to check in. Do you have a lot of thoughts flooding your mind? If you have a lot of thoughts flooding your mind and you've tried formal mindfulness practice before and you struggled tremendously with it, would it be a good idea to try to practice it again when you have just thoughts and thoughts and thoughts running through your mind? I would probably say no. So you want to do an initial check-in to make sure you're in a good spot to practice formally. Next step is to begin to train your mind to focus. The thoughts are going to come in. You need to allow them to come in. Don't get stuck on that thought, and then just let it pass. Acknowledge it and come back to the breath. Every time a thought or a feeling or an image comes in while you're practicing your formal mindfulness, you come right back to your breath or whatever your anchor of choosing is. The fourth, even the most experienced meditators still have floods of thought. And the fifth one, once you notice that those thoughts are truly out of your control, that's when you can start to realize that what's important in your practice is maintaining the breath, maintaining that attention on the breath. The thoughts are there. They're going to be there no matter what. You can't stop them. Your brain and your thoughts and your feelings can sometimes be the biggest distractions. And then it takes time. It takes time to begin to get comfortable with the formal practice of mindfulness. Think back to when you first started kicking the soccer ball. Did you master it right away? Some, maybe. Those really gifted athletes, maybe. But in general, it takes time. It takes time and effort and commitment to master a skill. You all play on, I would assume, high level club soccer teams, ECNL, EDP, those leagues are highly competitive. It takes time to get to a level to participate on those teams. So it's going to take just as much time to master your mind. Second one is informal mindfulness. The informal mindfulness is what I like to call the spot checks. You're in the moment, something goes wrong, you start to feel your body get tense, you just say stop. And one of the techniques for informal mindfulness is the stop technique. Stop stands for stop. Stop what you're doing within reason. Within reason. You don't want to stop in the middle of a game to figure out what's going on. There's time. You have to find the right time to stop. Second one is to take a few breaths. Just take a breath. Ground yourself back to where your feet are. Find your feet. Your feet are in the present moment. Why is your mind focused on the future? Or why is your mind focused on the past when your feet are in the present? So that's where your mind should be, in the present. And taking those breaths can help ground yourself back to the present. Third step is observe. Observe your thoughts and feelings. This can be done by using the senses to get present or by categorizing or naming those thoughts. The players are asked to categorize their focus, and this is where the focus circle comes in. The focus circle is an important tool, and that's something that you traditionally, like I would introduce in a more individual setting. But it's a form of mindfulness, or in a form of informal mindfulness practice. Understand the focus circle. Where's your focus? The focus circle is to check in and decide whether one has blue focus right in the middle. It's a bullseye. So when you hear me start calling colors out, think of the bullseye. In the middle is the blue circle, and that's where you're focused on the task, the game plan. You've made contact with the mission and your values. You're in the moment, in flow, or in the zone. And then as you gradually start losing focus of the present moment, the next ring is yellow, and then there's an orange ring, and then there's a red ring, and then the gray ring. And once you understand the individual rings, then you'll kind of know where you need to be and how you can get back to the blue circle or in the middle of the bullseye. And the final step is proceed. Once you've gotten back to the blue and you're back at the task at hand, that's when you can proceed. Once you've gone through the steps, stop, take a breath, observe what's going on, and then you can proceed. That's the stop technique, in line with the focus circle. All right, so we're going to go through a mindfulness exercise. I want you to take the time to find a good spot that you can participate in this exercise. Raise your hand if you've ever done a formal mindfulness exercise.
Matt, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here so we're a little bit bigger, and then
Okay.
you might be able to see them raise their hands then. Don't know if you'll be able to or not, but a lot of hands are up right now.
I see. I'd say about a third. All right. So remember, I don't expect you to be masters at this. So this is going to be about 5 to 6 minutes. Again, when those thoughts come into your mind, acknowledge them and send them on their way. So what I'd like you to do is find a good, comfortable spot, sit up nice, straight, and tall. To begin, sit tall with your spine straight. Your ears are over your shoulders, and your chin is slightly tucked forward in your chest. The idea is to adopt a posture that is comfortable and erect. Place your hands wherever you feel right, whatever's most comfortable for you. Maybe on your knees or in your lap. Lay them with the palms facing upward and allow your muscles and your fingers to relax. You may find it helpful to gently close your eyes, but if you'd rather keep them open, let your gaze fall unfocused to a spot on the floor or right in front of you. Now, begin your attention to the tips of your toes. From there, allow your attention to slowly rise up through your whole body with each in-breath. As your attention passes through each body part, see if you can notice any tension being held by your muscles. If you do notice tension, you can sit with that experience, or you can gently tense that area of your body as you breathe in and relax as you exhale. Leaving behind loose muscles as your attention rises a bit more in your body on your next in-breath. As you continue to breathe, imagine that each inhalation is taken in cool, peaceful, relaxing feeling that is slowly permeating your being from your toes to the top of your head. Gently breathe in and breathe out. Your breath is your anchor. It's always present. No matter where you are or what you're doing, your breath is with you. It's happening right now, in this moment. Each time you breathe, let your breath remind you that you are natural, you are alive, right here, right now. Notice now the rhythm of your breath as it flows naturally. You do not need to try to breathe more deeply or at a different speed. Allow your breath to do what it always does and then just observe the process. Feel the air enter and then feel it exit. Pay close attention to each moment of the breath, from the in-breath to the pause to the out-breath. One continuous flow. Each breath keeps us alive. Each breath is vital to us. Yet we always let it go. We're always breathing. Therefore, we're always letting go. As you sit with your breath, it might be helpful to settle your attention on the physical sensation you are feeling. Notice the feeling of expansion in your torso as you inhale, and notice your muscles relax with a sense of gentle deflation as you exhale. These feelings may be centered in your chest or in your belly. Wherever you notice them is perfectly fine. Or notice the feelings entering your nose and the sensation across your upper lip as the air flows back out. Allow these sensations to fill your field of awareness as you sit with your breath. They do not need to be different. They do not need to be changed. Right now, for this breath, they are exactly what they need to be. You will find as you sit with your breath that your attention wanders away, perhaps getting caught up in the endless flow of thoughts and feelings that we all have each day. This is perfectly natural. Minds wander. That is just what they do. When you notice your mind has wandered from your breath, you may have a reaction such as, I am terrible at keeping my focus, or I must be doing this wrong. Rest assured, this is not the case. You are also not doing anything wrong, but having these judgments. They are perfectly natural too. But as best you can, try to let these such judgments of your experience just pass out of your mind, and realizing that your attention is wandered. You are truly present. You are noticing something right here, right now. You're seizing the opportunity to observe what your mind is doing in this very moment. If you notice your thoughts being drawn away, maybe by a memory of where you have been or an anticipation of where you're going next, see if you can acknowledge where your mind is gone, appreciate that it might be important to you, and then gently bring your attention back to your breath. The past has come and gone, and the future has not arrived yet. Give yourself the gift of this moment. Let those thoughts about other times go. Let them pass through your mind. Your thoughts are like clouds. You are like a mountain. Just as the harshest storm clouds may batter a mountain, they always pass in time, but the mountain remains. Recognize this inner, impenetrable calm that resides in all of us. When you notice that your mind has left the breath and followed a thought, congratulate yourself, for you've taken advantage of a valuable opportunity. Thank yourself for your patience and understanding as you again and again bring your attention back to your anchor of your breath, turning into your present moment experience. Now, as you begin to draw this experience to a close, feel where your hands are positioned on your body. Feel the points of contact between your body and the chair or the ground. You maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes, seeing what sensations arise. Observe any feelings that may have been generated by this practice. Take 3 deep breaths as you sit with these feelings, letting them be just what they are. When you're ready, gently open and refocus your eyes and bring your awareness back to the world around you. Now, that's a typical formal mindfulness practice. Raise your hand if you had a tough time with your thoughts or your feelings. And that's okay. It is okay. Our thoughts and feelings are there for a reason. They're telling us something. So acknowledge them, observe them. And then what I would typically do with an athlete is have them log this experience. Date, time, what type of mindfulness you did, sitting, a body scan, walking, yoga. All of these are forms of mindfulness practice. Write it down. Much like writing down a goal, you write down how your mindfulness went. So I have a question.
There you go.
Actually, someone has a question. When is the best?
Sorry, God. Do you want me to read it for you so you can
Sure.
just answer them? Okay, so first question, and guys, if you have questions, now's a great time to type them in there. Again, we won't read who is typing them in, and I do think you have an option to click anonymous, but you don't have to. We won't announce any names, but this is a great question. First one, when is the best time to practice this type of deep mindfulness?
That is a very good question, and it's a very popular question, to be honest. Whatever's the best time for you. If you have time in the morning, you do it in the morning. If you have time at lunchtime, you do it at lunchtime. If you have time in between breakfast and lunch, you do it then. If you have time at in the evening time before bed, you do it then. So ultimately, it's up to you. The only thing I would say is you don't have to sit for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If you don't have 10 minutes and you're trying to get 10 minutes and you don't have 10 minutes, do what you can. If you truly want to increase your awareness and really start maintaining your attention and sustaining that attention, 2 minutes is good enough. 1 minute is good enough. It shows your commitment. You're taking the time to do it. So to answer your question, it's ultimately up to you.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a bunch more that have come in. The next one is probably a tough one, but it's a great question. They thought the mindfulness practice was great, but that they found that they got a little bit emotional during it. Do you have any ideas as to why something like that would happen during a mindfulness practice?
It depends on that thought and feeling. That's your thought and feeling. What's that thought and feeling telling you? It's okay to get emotional as long as you can get back to your breath.
Great.
So to really answer that question depends on that thought and it depends on that emotion. Is yours. So as long as you allow that to come in during your practice and then let it go, just like you let your breath go, that's all you can do is maintain the attention on the breath. So
This,
that's
sorry.
the best answer I could give you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
It really depends on your emotion that you felt.
Yeah, and I think like just in the way that you were describing it is this time is really your time. So whatever comes into your mind is totally okay. And it's something that, you want to pay attention to, and it's just individualized. So this next question is a good one in relation to soccer. It's how do you handle distractions during a game to breathe and focus?
So that is a good question. And a lot of times, a lot of athletes have this question. Distractions are there. Coaches can be distraction. Teammates can be distractions. The other team can be a distraction. The ref can be a distraction. Parents can be a distraction. Distractions are a part of the game. But what you do with those distractions and being able to come back and maintain that focus on the task at hand, what I would like you to understand is the focus of mindfulness is increasing your awareness and sustaining and maintaining attention in order to get to a flow state or in the zone. Everybody's zone is different. As a coach, I practice mindfulness before a game. I need to get myself focused, ready for the game. You as an athlete, your zone is going to be different than my zone. Your zone is going to be different than your teammate's zone. It's ultimately up to you. Handling distractions is acknowledging that the distraction is there and really getting back to the present moment, taking that breath, grounding yourself back to the present moment, finding your feet. If you've ever been on my field, you're going to hear me say, "Where's your feet? Find your feet." Because I can see who's in the moment and who's not, because your performance will struggle. So you really need to find your feet. Where's your feet? They're in the present moment. But if you're thinking in left field, you're not in the present moment. So I hope that answers your question. That's a really good question. Distractions are a part of the game, and with a tool belt full of mental skills, not just mindfulness, self-talk, goal setting, being able to understand imagery is a good way. Stop is probably a really good tool. Hard part is when do you find that time to stop? And sometimes I even ask athletes, like, if you're not in the game, ask for a sub. It's okay. It's okay to come off the field because you're not playing well. On the bench is a really good time to ground yourself back into the game and get that focus back to where it needs to be. by stopping and going, I need to come out. I'm not here. So take the time, and it's okay to come out of a game.
It's a great answer. And I even think what you said with the find your feet is a great tool to use. You know, if you realize that you're paying too much attention to the sideline or too much attention to the other team or whatever the distraction is, even just saying it to yourself, find your feet, is another great tool. So thank you for that answer. Next question. Sometimes I get frustrated during games. Do you have any tips to work on this?
Frustration. That's a big emotion. Frustration is going to be there. But what brings on that frustration? Once you understand where these emotions are coming from, it would eventually become easier to get back to the present moment. But if you're not aware of when you're getting frustrated and you keep doing the same thing, and that frustration builds and builds and builds, then you've completely taken yourself out of the game. Tips to work on this: mindfulness. Another thing is what Bree said. I call it a key association. Some people will call it a cue word. Something that's going to get your attention back to, what is it? Or you can simply say stop or find your feet. Those are cue words that get your attention back to where it needs to be. Frustration, it really depends on where that frustration is coming from. Is the frustration coming from a mistake? And if you're focused on the mistake, then you're not focused on the present moment. So it really depends on where that frustration comes into play. That's in a group setting, that's a difficult question to answer. But in an individual session, we can dig into that frustration and the cause of the frustration to really get, really get those skills and tools developed to help you work with your frustration. But for the most part, in this type of setting, mindfulness is a good tool. Finding a cue word or a key phrase that's going to bring you back to the moment.
Great answer. Okay, next question. How can I stay in this relaxed mindset even during a game?
Remember, everybody's zone is different. Some people can play super relaxed. Some people need to be a little more amped up to get into their zone. So really, that relaxed mindset is very individualized. You have to know when you're in the zone. So how can you stay in that? When you get in the zone, everything seems to be flowing. Like, distractions aren't affecting you. Everything is clicking. Your body and your mind are one, and you're playing the game of your life. I want to see some hands raising if you feel like you've been in the zone. So it's about half of you now. So once you get into it, even during a game, and that's your zone, you're going to stay in it. Hard part is if a mistake happens and you get anxious, that's when you come out of the zone. So that's when those key words or those key phrases are grounding yourself back into that moment, taking that breath, going, it's okay. Back to the game. That's where that comes in. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, great. Yeah, we still have a few more coming in here. So how many times a week do you think an athlete should practice mindfulness?
Um, Ultimately, it's up to the athlete. It's how much you want to be committed to the practice itself. So if you want to do it every day, go for it every day. If I'm going to start you out right away as let's say you're a new client to me, I'm not going to start you out at 10 minutes a day. It's not going to be effective unless you can do it for 10 minutes right away. And we would work on that in an individual session. But it's really on how much commitment you want to put into your practice. Me, I do it 20 minutes a day. I find the time to do it 20 minutes a day. Research shows that 12 minutes a day is the right amount of time to show an increase in sustaining and maintaining attention and awareness. Rafael Nadal, that's where his research came into play. They studied Rafael Nadal and showed that 12 minutes a day is the ample amount of time to show an increase in awareness and being able to sustain your attention. But ultimately, it comes down to what you want to put into it.
Great answer. Okay, next question. Is it okay if you unfocus and have to keep trying to focus again? I think this question is probably asking if at a certain point, should you just stop and then try to revisit it later, or should you continue to try to refocus for the full 10 minutes or whatever you've allotted to doing mindfulness?
I like that question. I actually like that question a lot. Remember in the beginning of the presentation is you're all new. Let's just say you're all new. Most of you are new. It's not going to come right away. You're not going to master it right away. Even the best meditators and mindfulness practitioners still struggle maintaining attention. It's a part of getting better and not getting frustrated when your mind wanders and you can't focus. So I would say stop. I would tell an athlete to stop. If you are that unfocused in that moment, stop. Stop and revisit it later if you can. Or if you start to feel that at 3 minutes, let's say through the 3-minute mark, not that we're really keeping time, but let's say you've meditated for a certain amount of time. You've reached, say 10, you've reached the end one time, but you really start to struggle with the thoughts and feelings halfway through. Well, maybe 10 minutes is too long, so you want to drop it back down. But if you're just that unfocused and you're having a really hard time keeping your attention, just stop. Just stop and revisit it later. And that's okay, because it's a part of the process. It's actually time to reflect on why were you unfocused? What was bothering you that much to where you had to stop? So that's a very good question.
Yeah, great answer. Okay, so we got 3 more left here. Does mindfulness help with nerves before a game? And is there a strategy to help with being anxious before games?
Now, there's a difference between mindfulness and deep breathing. And that's something we would go over in an individual session. Mindfulness is not a tool to relax. Remember, mindfulness is about attention and awareness. It has the feeling of relaxation, but it is not a tool to relax you. Deep diaphragmatic breathing is a tool to relax you. That is something that can help with nerves before a game. But I want to ask you a question back. Are nerves a part of the game? Nerves are a part of the game. Are your nerves, do your nerves have you to a point to where your performance is going to drop? That's when you either need to stop, take that breath, observe what's going on, and then go back into what you're doing. And that's, I wish more players would use stop during warmups, because I can see when an athlete is struggling during a warmup. And typically it's either during a possession part of warmup and they're having trouble finding space, or their first touch is off, or during the shooting portion of the warmup, they can't hit the broadside of a barn. So to really answer that question, nerves are a part of the game. You have to realize that. Are your nerves to a point that your performance is dropping? And if so, taking that deep diaphragmatic breathing or deep diaphragmatic breath helps you relax those nerves if that skill helps you. That's why it's so important that everything is individualized. What works for me may not work for Bree. What works for you may not work for your teammate. It's individualized for you. But yes, to answer your question, mindfulness can help with your nerves because you stop yourself. Remember, two forms of mindfulness, formal and informal. You stop yourself, take that deep breath, and then proceed back into it. Observe and then proceed. So yes, mindfulness can help, but it's not going to help you relax. That's what the deep diaphragmatic breath is for.
Okay, great. All right, so next one, and actually the last two are kind of similar, but we'll separate them. Actually, we could kind of lump them together because they are pretty similar. So it's how can I focus and get ready before going into a game? And then the second question is just a little more specific with, there are some games where I have a great first half, but I seem to lose focus at times during the second half. What can I do at halftime to make sure I'm as focused as I was in the first half? So I think they're both just looking for maybe a tool to help focus before they get on the field.
That comes into a routine. Pre-performance routines can be used throughout a game. One's asking before you go into a game. We can see that as before a game starts. Or you're coming off the bench, so you're a sub. You have a routine that you go through, individualized to help you get ready and find that zone that's specific to you in order to allow you to enter that game fully present, ready to perform at your best. So it's very individualized to you, but developing a routine before a game, even during halftime, and then a routine at the end of the game can certainly bring your level down. That way you can go home and not be angry in the car, depending on the result, or, it's tough, but a routine can certainly help you get there, whether that's breathing, coming up with self-talk cue words. So it's very individualized, but in this setting, it would be very tough, but developing that routine can certainly help you.
Great. So that's all of our questions that we had in our Q&A. Everybody that was in attendance, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for asking such great questions at the end. I think you guys all got a lot out of that by being able to ask those questions. And Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to answer those questions and to introduce this topic to a lot of them, or maybe just refresh some of them that have seen it before. It's definitely something that we don't talk about enough, and something that if everybody spends, just like you said, 12 minutes a day or whatever your time allotment is, 1 minute, you could become a better soccer player pretty quickly just by focusing on something that maybe not a lot of people do. So Matt, I'll give you the last words here if you have anything more you want to say, but thank you so much for taking the time to talk to our ODP players.
Hey, guys and gals, I'm very proud of you for coming out and taking the time to listen to me, listen to Bree. Like Bree said, this is an important topic. I feel like at times it's often overlooked. And to truly get to your best, much like you train the physical, the tactical, the technical side, you have to put just as much time in the mind, because once the mind is where it's at, in connection with your body, that's where the magic happens. You'll see a huge difference in the game. And I want you to understand, you don't come see someone like myself when things go wrong. When things are going wrong, it's typically too late. You can still come see me, but typically that is, it's going to be harder. But if you look at mental performance as an intrinsic, you want to do it because you know it's going to make you a better athlete, and you come at it with that mindset, you're going to get more out of it. So don't come see me because something is wrong. I mean, do, but you get what I'm saying. At least I hope you get what I'm saying. Come see me because you know you want to be your best, and this is the missing component in your game to achieve the highest level performance you can. So don't be afraid to come reach out to someone like myself or someone else when it comes to mental performance. Don't wait when something is wrong. Come see us when you know this is the missing component in your game and you want to become the best athlete, soccer player, guitarist, singer, football player, whatever other sport you might play, because it all can translate into other facets of your life. It's not just sport. You're a human being, and mindfulness can help you in school. Mindfulness can help you in things at home, testing, all kinds of stuff. So don't just think of it as sport related, because it can translate into multiple facets of life. So thank you for taking the time. I truly, truly appreciate it. And if you want more, reach out to Bree and,
Yeah, guys, I'll send an email tomorrow with some more information of how we can, if you have additional questions, how we can get them answered for you guys. So look for an email tomorrow from me, or from the ODP staff, about how you can get your questions answered. But Matt, thanks again. Oh, my light just went out again. Thank you again. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.